I therefore add my voice to those who have come out to strongly condemn His Excellency President William Samoei Ruto's recent, most unfortunate, reckless, unwarranted, ill-informed, misguided, immature, unhinged, unnecessary, barbaric, satanic, and without a doubt, unconstitutional attacks on the judiciary. So we have got 63 billion shillings that's taken from the taxpayer and it has disappeared. 17 we can see it went to the oil. The remaining we need to be told. The Minister for Finance needs to tell us why they approved those expenditures. And the control of budget, why she signed off for this money to be taken out of the consolidated fund. Parliament has become a small appendix of the executive, and Parliament does what the executive wants because the majority side is part of the executive.
Yeah, my name is Okiya Omtatah. I'm a senator of the Republic of Kenya, elected by the people of Busia County. I'm a member of the Parliament, the National Parliament. Well, my childhood is that I grew up in a very, very heavily Catholic home. And I had a big influence from the Catholic Church right from my childhood. And so it had an influence on me, and especially my grandfather. He always encouraged me to do good, and one of the things he used to tell me that if you want to change the world, don't wait to do big things. Even if you are walking on a road and you find a thorn, and you're wearing shoes, you can make the road better for those who don't have shoes just by picking up that thorn, breaking it and throwing it away. So you say you make the world better for those who will come without shoes on that road. So he used to say, don't look to do big things, just do the ordinary things. And he used to tell me, if you look at even the Bible, the Beatitudes, you could go through them and say, Jesus says that you are judged by very small things. I was hungry and you didn't give me food. I was in prison, you didn't visit me. I was naked, you didn't clothe me. So he said, you will not be judged by big things in this world. You are judged by the small things you do. When I look back in my report, I've got all my report cards from class 1. My father preserved them. Then I also, he gave me this. I got my record. When I realized in secondary school, they used to say, obedient but outspoken. And I remember my last report card from Tindinyo College. That's where I did from 6. Father Hayes wrote that obedient but too outspoken for the comfort of some who are not mature in their minds. So that's what Father Hayes wrote. So I think that being outspoken, despite that they made me a head boy in A level. So, but they thought that I was too outspoken.
I think Omtatah is somebody who, first of all, is quite firm. In my interactions with him, I found him to be a person of great integrity and a person who has a strong commitment to his cause. We all remember when Omtatah by himself chained himself to a vigilance house, and he's told me the story of what happened. The police could not believe it. After they arrested him and they managed to break the chains, and senior people in the police service went to interview him, and they were asking him, who is funding you? They were in serious panic. They thought he must be driven by foreign or donor interests, and it was because of his own passion for justice.
There was a time, remember, whenever a parliament MPs could be elected, the first thing they would do was to increase their salaries. that thing used to annoy me. So I did some research. And I found that there was a law called National Assembly Remuneration Act of 1978, which was moved by Mwai Kibaki when he was Minister for Health. That is what allowed parliamentarians to pay themselves. When I looked at it and I read section 41 of the old constitution, the one that was repealed, I realized that nobody had the power to pay themselves under that constitution. So around that time, then I wrote an article in The Nation. So as a result of that, I was called to a TV show. We were debating with Honorable Omtatah on that television show.
And I think after the first few shots were fired.
And I said, I'm going to go to Parliament and petition Parliament to repeal this law because it's unconstitutional. So we finished the show late, then I traveled to Busia that night by bus. I liked traveling by overnight bus. So when I got to wherever I was going, next day, at around 10, I got a phone call that I did from a number I did not know. So when I answered it, the person introduced himself that I'm Kibe Mungai, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. And I listened to your debate yesterday, and I think you make a very strong point. I've gone and checked the law, and you are 100% right. The only thing you are wrong is you are going to Parliament. If you go to Parliament, you will not achieve what you are looking for. The MPs cannot remove food from their own mouth. I'll volunteer my services as a lawyer. I want you as my client. We will go to the High Court and challenge the law for being unconstitutional. We did that. The case dragged on and dragged on. Eventually, the new constitution happened. The case went on. Then I won the case. That act was declared unconstitutional, null and void. Then I continued doing other things, using advocates like Kanjama, Charles, Kibe Mungai, and many others.
I remember in 2010, while we were in the process of the run-up to the referendum on the new constitution, I was doing a column in the newspaper. Actually, it was in the Sunday Standard with another colleague called Kibe Mungai. And we were exploring different chapters of the constitution. It was like a debate, yes and no. And Omtatah, I think, may have followed some of those articles, and he was concerned about part of the process in the run-up to the new constitution.
When you wine and dine with the mighty, what will become of our future generation?
Butere girls were performing a play called Shackles of Doom, which was written by the current UDA Secretary General Malala. He used to write plays those days. So they won, and they were supposed to go to perform at the Nationals, but I think when the people in government did not like it, so they said they could not perform, so they gave the rights to another school. When I read about that thing, I decided to intervene, and I said, these little girls have won, they should just be allowed to perform. So I go to work in Malala and whatever, but everybody was not willing to swear affidavits and whatever, like they were okay with what had happened. We would fight another day. So I went to court and challenged it on right of freedom of expression and literary creativity. And I was happy that the late Justice Majanja again made a very, very brilliant ruling on the issue of freedom of expression and the creative arts. That to me is very, very important, because freedom of expression is a hallmark of a free person. First of all, it's the intimidation of judges. Sometimes you get judges writing, even this judgment, like even the we have got here. The High Court decided to avoid many of the other issues we raised. I don't went for the housing thing and a few other things. The Court of Appeal has done the same. It has allowed, like now I've told you about Article 293, which is the anchor article that requires the Senate to participate in the budget, because it says Parliament shall ensure that constitutional commissions and independent offices are adequately funded, and Parliament is both houses. So they have still not addressed that, which then means further litigation. But you cannot prepare enough, because even in my mouth here I don't have 10 teeth. I was knocked out. My skull was broken here and was broken at the back. But it was for refusing a bribe of 9 million shillings over the BVR case last time of the 2013 elections. There are those kinds of things. The other day you saw my office was broken into, then my home was raided, and all manner of things were happening. But I'm happy that this time the media came out and condemned it loudly. Even there was one media, I think that the Standard wrote a full editorial on it and said you are going to accommodate this.
Your colleague's life is in danger. Badala ya kuangalia kwamba full investigation iangaliwe shida ni nini, tunataka kuanza kujificha ati ni siasa. Siasa ya kufanya nini?
And I don't see why people should actually mobilize goons when you have done your job. So for us as a Senate, we say do your job and allow us to do ours.
I think Omtatah's approach is much more engaging the grassroots, getting people in the grassroots. Omtatah is more able to do things individually or with one or two people, because sometimes when you take up important cases, people get compromised.
Well, it affected me because my children have had to hide their identity. Like they went to school, the names they went by were nicknames, although they got their official names and they told the school not to reveal that. I never attended Parents' Day for my kids or anything. The mother always went. So I did not want them to be linked to me, and I explained it to them, and it's good things that they understood and saw the value in it. So I have had to adjust my life here and there to be able to continue doing what I'm doing. When you look at our Constitution, the Bill of Rights puts the individual at the center of the state, protection of the individual, to ensure the individual is protected. So that secular position and the religious position, and if you go to Article 3, Clause 1 of the Constitution, there's an obligation to defend the Constitution, to promote it, and to uphold it on every individual. So those things come, and when I heard we hear the Gen Z saying that bribeless, partyless, formless, leaderless, they are anchored in Article 3, Clause 1, that calls upon the individual to defend the Constitution, not groups. You see, so you come out as an individual and stand by the Katiba. So when I see those kind of things, I'm encouraged.
The State Law Office, the Attorney General's office, they even have a section in the State Law Office just dealing with Omtatah's cases. They require a whole registry to deal with several of their cases. Even the judiciary recognize that he has been very effective, not being an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. He seems to understand the Constitution so well, he argues cases so effectively, and he has obtained several successful rulings and judgments.
Well, there's no separation between activism. Just one way of saying do it now. Yeah, so that's why I do my oversight. So they are not mutually exclusive. One feeds into the other. And if you don't oversight the national government and make sure that the money is protected, then the ground will take nothing. And also you'll find that the impunity at the top percolates to the bottom. Because if the top people are unclean, they can't demand the others to be clean. Yes. It becomes a cartel of sorts.
First of all, Omtatah is a playwright. Some of his plays have been set books even in national examination, so Kenyans have read about it. His advocacy for justice with the police and so on has resulted in several changes. His court cases, one of the cases which I represented him involved the recovery of about 650 acres of land in Busia that was going to be irregularly taken over because of the sugar wars involving Mumias Sugar and other agencies. And he successfully recovered that piece of land that had been compulsorily acquired from the farmers, and it was given to the county government to use to develop either an industrial park or matters that will benefit the people there.
These are the things that are going on around us, and we are happy for it. So my outlook for the country is a bright one, that the ordinary people are now asking the important questions. have realized that the government is a servant, not a master. And I hope that is not lost. So the current the demos are very important. I've seen through the legislation I've done, I've really affected many institutions. I've been able to achieve this and that. So my legacy will just be fidelity to the rule of law and the Constitution. If to the last day I can live being faithful to the law and the Constitution, I'll be a happy man, I'll be a fulfilled man. History will judge me. I have a track record of a paper trail. And I can account for all my money. And I've stood up against the powers that be, even including foreign embassies. So who is hiring me? And where can they hire somebody else? And what I'm articulating is the rule of law. So how can I be a goon when I'm demanding the rule of law? So it is an oxymoron.
I know that there are those who claim that Omtatah is a hired gun. They say that some of the public interest cases he takes, he acts as a hired gun. And that issue is out there. But I also know that Omtatah, based on my personal involvement with him, he has received several proffers to compromise him in several cases and stood firm.
They should work towards going to parliament, towards going to county assemblies, because that's how decisions are made in this country. If you go and be passionate and you get people like yourself to go into parliament in large numbers, then you will influence. You'll be able to get good budgets, you'll be able to get whatever. So the majoritarian institutions must not be frowned upon. They must be, and as Plato said, if good men don't govern, they'll be governed by bad men.
A first piece of advice is that the going gets tough, and the tough have to get going. If when you engage in a social action advocacy, you only look for immediate results and you get discouraged when results take time, then you cannot really persevere or endure. When you look at Omtatah, you see a lifetime spent in social advocacy. There are some wins and some losses. You have to keep engaging at the job.